Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Greg Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you. By the way, I should say the story of yesterday is a great metaphor for what we need to do as a society. Yesterday, I was using fossil fuel transport, planes and taxis and cars to get here. And as a result, I didn't get here. Today, I just walked. Turns out it's not any more sustainable, it's more reliable, and with more backup plans if it goes wrong. So thank you so much to the BMW Foundation for being agile and accommodating a change of plan. Look, what I wanted to talk about, quick question. Who here has seen the movie An Inconvenient Truth or An Inconvenient Sequel? Hang on, how many? All the way? Okay, so it's about 5% of people, right? First of all, I invited my entire team for an away day many years ago, and I told them we were going to have movie night in between days sweating on the whiteboard. And when they sat down and got An Inconvenient Sequel instead of James Bond, you should have heard them sigh with exasperation. But within 5 minutes of that movie starting, everyone's phone in the room was buzzing. We were all WhatsApping each other to say we must do more. In fact, on that day, after that movie, we dramatically doubled down our commitment to the energy transition. You could say it jolted us into action. And the reason I wanted to mention it was I think the title has never been truer than it is today. It's inconvenient. Honestly, if only we could carry on with life as usual without threatening our planet or being at the mercy of dictators, life would be easier. But it's inconveniently true that it's not. And the worst reactions we can have to this are to pretend that it is. I'm going to be very candid with you today, and I'm so sorry if it is in any way offensive to anyone. But as the hyperscalers have been looking at the need for more energy for AI, they used to say we need clean energy. That was number one. And they've dropped the word clean. Or they've redefined clean energy. Obviously, gas is clean. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a physicist. But I think I know enough to know that gas isn't very clean. Now, don't get me wrong. If gas is part of a transition, if you're moving to a better place, that's great. But if you're building new gas plants, at least be honest. And the reason I want to talk about honesty is I think there's precedent. When the tobacco industry first discovered that tobacco causes cancer, their first reaction was to deny it. In fact, they put doctors in ads for cigarettes. Once it was undeniable, the science was clear, the tobacco industry pretended that they could make safe tobacco, healthier tobacco. They used filters and low tar, but it still caused cancer. Ultimately, when they couldn't do that anymore, they basically started running off their businesses in the developed world and moved to the developing world. And bit by bit, even there's more and more regulation. And today, the tobacco industry can just be honest. Cigarettes kill people, but some people find them fun. Right? Good, that is honest. As a result of that honesty, the tobacco industry has enjoyed 3 decades of superior earnings, as opposed to the fights it was mired in before. And I say to the fossil fuel industry, I was listening to the incredible Andrew Forrest of Fortescue earlier, and he said, look, in the grand scheme of human history, the period in which we relied on fossil fuels is going to be a tiny blip, right? We won't notice it in the very long run. In fact, pretty soon, it's going to look like the equivalent of burning twigs and logs for cavemen. That is what's going to happen. It is inevitable. And therefore, those of us who can be honest about it and say, look, today our world relies on this, we're not going to demonize it, but a bit like cigarettes, we can accept it is trashing and destroying our planet and is not the long-term future. The more we can be honest about that and allow the oil industry to be honest, the more we can create a better future. So let me talk very briefly about the better future, because, look, today, many people here are depressed. The US has told Europe we're on our own. Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an optimist. I'm told that, in Europe, if you're a pessimist, you get respected. If you're an optimist, you sound naive. in the US that is doing this to us, if you sound pessimistic, then no one wants to hear. And if you're optimistic, you're an innovative leader. Europe is going to be on our own, right? We have learned the lesson. Surely we've learned the lesson of being dependent on Putin's gas. Are we going to make the mistake of being dependent on the gas from other regimes? Or are we going to build on our incredible work that we've done so far in building out the solution, clean renewables? Look, I wish it wasn't the case that we had to make these changes, but we do. And if you look at the fundamentals, there is nothing more efficient in society than electricity. An electric car is 85% efficient at turning energy into motion. A petrol car is 30% at best. Hydrogen just isn't going to work in cars. I know that many people would love it to, and it's going to have incredible uses elsewhere. But let me tell you what happens with an electric car, just one example of the future we hold. In the UK, if you've got an electric car with a battery that goes both ways, we give you 20,000 kilometers a year of free driving, because we can use the battery to balance the grid, and the money we earn from that pays for your motoring. When people ask me, what are we going to do on days when it's not windy and not sunny, I've seen the future. We already have 250,000 cars doing this. It's 1.5 gigawatts of flexibility. Now, no one knows what a gigawatt is. It's 1.5 nuclear power plants worth, and we've already got it for free when we've only got 5% of our cars are electric. When you look at the future, in China, they're planning on no petrol stations by 2045. It'll be 100% battery electric, right? That's where we're going. Now, Europe is on its own. We can either build this system of the future, or we can carry on our dependence on elsewhere, which has never worked well for us, or we can allow the gap to open up. Already, Chinese companies, through research, development, and scientific innovation, are opening a technology gap. We have to accelerate to close it. What we found is the history of Nokia and Blockbuster, of Borders Books, the history everywhere is that companies that allow new technology to accelerate away never catch up. They think they will, but they die. And I don't want Europe to die. I want Europe to be the home that my kids can grow up in, with a successful, vibrant economy, but where the streets are quieter, where the air is cleaner, and we're the ones which are doing the most to contribute to a world without climate change. I started by asking about a movie. I asked about an inconvenient sequel. Who has seen Don't Look Up? Brilliant, right? That's, by the way, so good. Right? So more people have seen Don't Look Up. How often do you feel you're living in that movie, right? So my question to everyone today is, if Putin wasn't enough to wake us up, and the speeches today from America are not enough to wake us up, are we really going to be the people that let that asteroid crash into our Earth? Or are we going to be the people that grasp this opportunity? We see what is happening in parts of the world that are innovating most. We close that gap, and we lead the way to create the jobs and the abundant economy of the future. Look, a flexible electricity system is so easy to design. We spent 600 billion euros during the energy crisis subsidizing gas, right? The cost of gas, 600 billion euros in 2 years. Can anyone really tell me that it's too expensive to move to renewables? It's hard, it's inconvenient, but it's going to be a lot cheaper. So to me, to all of you, I say let's not be the people that watch that asteroid and deny it. Let's be the people, well, given what's going to happen in 2034, we better get ready and we'll destroy it. Thank you.
Thank you to the